Millions of years ago, this was the northern shore of the Tethys Sea, the southern edge of the Laurasian supercontinent. Then one day, India broke free from her mother continent of Gondwana land and sailed northwards. And as she crashed into Laurasia, the Himalaya rose. The ancient Indians believed this area of impact to be the center of creation. From the depths of this primeval ocean rose the earth. This was the home of Mount Meru, the very axis round which the earth revolved. It was the point of reference for all peoples, lands and rivers, the home of gods, the abode of Lord Shiva. Through millennia, the Himalaya have influenced the people of India in all facets of life: religion, art, architecture, literature, mythology. It was an unique relationship between man and mountain. The Himalaya have enriched our lives. Our faith has enriched the Himalaya. There is a holy mountain by the name Kailash, says the Vayu Purana. South of Kailash is Himavan, the mightiest of mountains. This Himalaya is full of waterfalls, caves and meadows. It spreads from the eastern to the western sea. As a people, Indians understood nature and appreciated her bounties. They revered the Himalaya as the source of the Ganga. Ancient literature, from the great epics to the Puranas and Kalidasa, speak of the exquisite beauty of the king of mountains. The Ramayana and the Mahabharata tell us how well the people at the time knew of the valleys and the mountains, the herbs and the flowers of the crown of India. Above all, the Himalaya was the abode of gods. The devout came here for the absolution of their sins and to be one with nature and divinity, as they still come in search of beauty and the infinite. But the greatest of all such journeys lay just across the Himalaya, to Kailash, the abode of Shiva, the very center of creation, reflected in the blue waters of Manas. The ultimate pilgrimage. From Ladakh to eastern Kumaon, there are nearly a dozen routes to Kailash, which pilgrims, travelers and traders have followed over the centuries. Today, your journey begins at Tawaghat on the river Kali on Kumaon's boundary with Nepal. The 100-kilometer trek to the border with Tibet at Lipu Pass takes you through the settlements of Chaudas and Vyas Pattis along the Kali Ganga Valley. After crossing the Lipu Pass at over 17,000 feet, a pony and bus ride brings you to the ancient trade mart of Taklakot. From here, a bus takes you 100 kilometers across the Tibetan plateau to Kailash and Manas Sarovar. The route along the Kali is perhaps the easiest of all the routes from India to Kailash. As the path leaves the Kali, for the first 3 days you climb high ridges only to descend on the other side. Past the tranquil Narayan Ashram and through the dense forests of Rungling Top, you come down eventually to the Kali. The unrestrained fury of the Kali is only matched by the series of waterfalls that plunge, waft, and cascade on either side of the gorge. It is an often fearsome track with little between the pilgrim and the raging torrent below. But if there are perils, the rewards are many. You see the inhabitants of Chaudas and Vyaspattis. They have a refined aesthetic sense, as you see in their beautifully carved dwellings. A proud people with history, they are happy to welcome visitors, and if you are lucky, you will see men and women of all ages in their traditional dances. On the way, you pass temples where generations of pilgrims have paid their respects. Each view will be shrouded in the mists of mythology. At the meadow of Chialik, man and nature become one as they pray to Vyasdeva. Vyasdeva, you are told, had done much of his labors on the Vedas and Mahabharata here on this serene meadow. Legend says this was once the home of Kalpavriksha, the wishing tree. Entering the upper Himalaya, you go past the once prosperous village of Garbyang. Not very long ago, Tibetan guides came here to escort Indian pilgrims. It is now sinking and nearly deserted, a mere shell of its past glory. Under azure skies and with the Kali, the rocks and the forests for company, you proceed to Lipu Pass at the crest of the Himalaya, separating India and Tibet. According to legend, it was at Lipu, the Krauncha defile of the Puranas, that Parashuram had cleft the Himalaya to forge a route to Kailash. As you approach the icy wastes of Lipu, you must wonder at the faith of our forefathers that brought them across this bleak expanse. It is through this Krauncha defile that the Yaksha of Meghadutam asked the cloud messenger to carry his message to his beloved in Kubera's citadel of Alkapuri at Kailash. Standing on top of Lipu, you see the majestic Gurla Mandhata, named after the sage king of mythology, soaring above the haze in the distance. Even in the cold and bitter wind, you feel a stirring of excitement, for Kailash and Manas lie just beyond the horizon. It is the barren vastness that hits you as you ride into Tibet. The colors are muted, shades of brown and ochre, and the only brilliant hue is that of the aquamarine sky. The glittering Himalaya that you leave behind stand guard against the monsoon clouds. The faith of the people is embodied in the money stones, prayer wheels, and monasteries. You get glimpses of the once inhabited cave dwellings and make your first acquaintance with the people of this enchanting land. To the north is Ravanrad, the lake named after the king of Lanka. Ravan was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. Was it on the shores of this lake, perhaps, that he composed his immortal prayer to Lord Shiva? From whose luxuriant matted locks the Ganga flows to his sacred throat, who wears a garland of snakes and dances the tandav to the awesome beat of his damaru. May he Lord Shiva, bless us. Manas. Manas Sarovar, born of the mind of Brahma, the creator. Padmarad of the Jains. Anovatapta of Sanskrit and Pali literature. The lake without heat or trouble, the only true paradise on earth. Somavang, the divine lake of the Buddhists. Manas, the eternal, the everlasting. Manas, that saw the dawn of creation. Manas, one of the 4 Mahasarovars of the Puranas. Manas, of the Jambu Vriksh and its golden fruits. Manas of myth and legend, with swans and golden lotuses. Manas of our imagination. Manas that carries on its shores the memories of the hopes and sorrows of countless pilgrims through millennia. As you go around the lake, Gurla Mandhata, rising a sheer 10,000 feet above the southern shore, dominates the scene. Myth and reality seem to merge, as do the mountain and the lake. You recall the words of the Swedish explorer Sven Hedin. Wonderful, attractive, enchanting lake, theme of story and legend, playground of storms and changes of color, apple of the eye of gods and men, goal of weary, yearning pilgrims, holiest of the holiest of all the lakes of the world, lake of all lakes. There are certainly more beautiful lakes in the world, but there is none which unites with natural beauty such an influence on the faith and souls of men. You pass monasteries and villages where time has stood still. You see people engaged in the routine of their daily activities. But if the conditions are harsh, there is nevertheless a sense of tranquil continuity. caravans pass as they must have done for centuries. Crossing streams emerging from the eastern glaciers, you realize that the source of the Brahmaputra is not too far away. To go around Manas is a journey to infinity, where your consciousness, the sky, the water, the clouds, and the mountains merge into one another, all overwhelmed by the aura of faith that pervades the atmosphere. The beauty is sublime, and the sublime is beyond description. It is a voyage of discovery where a passing cloud, a flurry of snow, a rainbow, or a flock of sheep, a flight of birds, mellow mornings or high noons, a soul worshipper or a caravan at rest, are all part of the great totality of experience. The route from Manas to Kailash goes past the Chu monastery, which stands above the Ganga Chu, connecting Manas with Ravanrad. You then enter the Barkha plains. It is a vast amphitheater, with Kailash to the north and Gurla Mandhata to the south. The Barkha plains are a fitting frame in which the two giants are mounted and exude a sense of space and timelessness. Watching the sun set from the foot of Kailash, you are reminded of the Yaksha's advice to the cloud messenger. O cloud, if at Kailash you see Parvati walking, leaning on Shankara's arm, go in front and form a flight of steps for them to ascend the jeweled slopes. If Manas is gentle, Kailash is stark. The Bompo description of the Golden Mountain with jeweled slopes corresponds to the Puranic description of Meru. Meru, which was at the center of creation, the axis round which the earth revolves. Within the formidable ramparts that guard it on all sides is the abode of Lord Shiva. The fierce austerity of the terrain befit the Lord of Tandav. It is here that the non-Aryan Ravan prayed to the pre-Aryan deity. The serrated face of Kailash is still marked by Ravan's bonds as he tried to lift and carry Kailash to Lanka. This is where, as Kalidas said, the streams descend from Kailash like the veil of a woman in the arms of her lover. It was here that Rishabdev, the first Tirthankara revered by the Jains, attained nirvana. The Buddhist Milarepa had his epic struggle against the Bonpos on these icy slopes as he sped to the summit of Kailash along a shaft of sunlight. Krishna and Arjun have paid their homage here. Within these ramparts lies Alkapuri, the fabled citadel of Kubera, built by Vishwakarma himself. It is the home of the fearful Demchog of the Buddhists. It is blessed by the Buddha, whose footprints adorn its slopes. It is Meru, the center of the earth. It is faith crystallized. And going round the mountain, you will see today's pilgrims following the age-old route with the same devotion as pilgrims through millennia. From Dirafok to the north of Kailash, you will see its magnificent northern face, equally overwhelming in mist or sun. Not far away is the source of the Indus. To the northeast, across the Dolma, lies Gaurikund, blessed by Parvati herself. And finally, as you leave Kailash, there is a last glimpse of its soaring height from the Barkha plains. You will believe what the Bonpos said long ago. All these will not be destroyed at the end of time by fire, water, earth, or wind. Without becoming extinguished, they will pass into ethereal peace.